Hello and welcome to another edition of Florida Sportsman Action Spotter Podcast. I'm Captain Rick Riles. This is where we take a trip around the state each and every week and check in the hot spots of Florida and find out what's happening, what the fish are doing, what the bait's doing, what the weather's like, who's going fishing, what they're catching, and how they're getting it done. We hope to make a stop in every critical area of the state tonight and get the latest up-to-the-minute report. The Florida Sportsman Action Spotter Podcast is brought to you each and every week by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. By Tournament Master Chum, the best chum on earth. By FishingNosara.com, your dream vacation. And by Young Boats. You want the best in flat spay and offshore hybrid boats? You want YoungBoats.com. Before we start around the state of Florida, let's take a little trip to paradise, my favorite place to build fish in the world, Nosara, Costa Rica. We got a hookup down there with our buddy Craig Sutton at Nosara Paradise Rentals. Craig, are you with me?
Yes, sir, Captain Ricky.
What's the latest you hear from Paradise?
We're fixing to open up. We've got 2 weeks and 4 days, and the airport's opening back up. We're putting the boats back in the water, and we're ready to go fishing.
This has got to be driving your captains crazy.
Well, it is, because they're laying block and digging a footer and putting rebar in and stuff. And, we haven't laid anybody off. We kept them working and sent them on vacations. And we're building a new 4-unit studio building down there.
Nice. You got any word on the fishing from down there? Has your one boat been fishing, or is he gone too?
No, he's been out of the water since right before Easter. But, this is the best time of year for fishing, the end of May all the way through August. I'm sure it's not going to disappoint. As soon as the airport opens up, I'm heading down there to sample it myself.
I'm going to be interested to see, because the fish down there don't get much pressure, certainly not comparatively speaking, but I'm going to be interested to see what effect this lack of tourism has had down there on the fishing. We're hearing great things from, the pollution is down and the emissions are down and the animals are all doing so great in the parks and all. I'm going to be curious to see if your fishing's not just wide open this spring.
Well, it's any time from the end of May through August. Once it starts raining to the north and south of us, the fish get super, super aggressive and they get big. So it's kind of hard to imagine them getting more so. But, we'll see. We'll see. We should have a record number of trips between May and August this year. I was just looking at August calendar, and we've got a bunch of bookings.
Uh-oh. I better hurry up, hadn't I?
You better believe it. Better believe it. That's our time to be down there, man. Be along with you.
You bet. You and me and Charlie Phillips and the whole gang, that'll be a ball. I can't wait. All right, Craigie, I appreciate it, buddy. We'll see you on the rip, okay?
Likewise.
Take care, bud. Craig Sutton from Nosara Paradise Rentals. Now we're going to get serious. We're going to start our trip around Florida, and we'll start out up in the northeast corner. That's where Jacksonville is, and that's where Captain David Voorhees has his finger on the pulse of what's going on with the fishing. Captain David.
How you doing, Captain Ricky?
Well, let me see. I got about 36 baits rigged. They're sitting on the tray. They're all ready to go. I'll catch about 2 hours of sleep tonight. Yeah, I'm good.
Good. And you don't have to take your wife to have a baby delivered, right?
Yeah, what's up with that? Holy smokes. For those of you that are befuddled about what we're talking about, Captain William Toney, who gives us such a great Big Bend report every week, just sent me a text not too long ago that his wife's in labor on the way to the hospital, and he's going to miss our podcast. I told him, David, you were there for the important part.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to him, man.
Indeed.
His life has just changed.
His life has changed. His bank account has changed. There's a lot of things that have changed. Ain't that the truth?
Well, Rick, let me tell you about the inshore fishing. And I'm going to call it the tale of two bodies of water, because north of the St. Johns River is not that pretty right now. It's been pretty muddy, and it's actually a colder temperature up that way. But south of the St. Johns River is a whole different ball game. Down into the Pablo Creek area along the intercoastal, the fishing's been pretty good. On the redfish has been outstanding. It was an excellent week this week. We had a low pressure sitting over us most of the week, which, a lot of people don't really pay much attention to high pressures and low pressures. But if you give me a choice of the two, I'm going to take that low pressure over the high pressure any day of the week. These high pressures, you can tell the bluebird days with not a cloud in the sky. Man, I hate fishing those days. I find I struggle, and most of the captains I know don't like fishing them. But when you get a low pressure like we've had, it's been cloudy all week, touch and go on the rain, but still able to get out and do some great deep water jigging. Found nothing, Rick, on the shallow waters. Everything I got came out of at least 15 feet to 20 feet of water.
Whoa, that is deep for here. My goodness.
Well, for inshore, I mean, for reds on the inshore, considering, I mean, we like to catch them up in the shallow, back in the creeks, on the flats. I talked to some of the St. Augustine boys today. It sounds to me like there's a mixed bag of water, some clean, some dirty. You got to find the clean water, which is sometimes what we see around this area. But they seem to be getting a lot of the trash fish. I've heard reports of a lot of catfish. And who wants to catch catfish?
Thanks. No.
I've heard about guys getting inundated with them in the surf, but it sounds like I've been hearing some stories of that happening down towards the St. Augustine area.
Well, they can keep them down there, Cap. We don't need them.
That's for sure. But anyway, still they've been fishing, for reds and trout and doing okay. A lot of the pelagics have showed up. The ladyfish are around. Jacks, we're catching plenty of those. And I also got a chance to talk to Captain Tony Baselli today. He said the same thing. He went up north. The water looked like cream and coffee. And so he went back to the river and started throwing for some trout and got a nice 25-inch trout. He's seeing the big trout, topwater plugs. His favorite is the bite-a-bait lure, that little lip diving lure that runs about a foot under the water, no deeper, probably 3 inches long, I would say. And it's a minnow imitator, and he kills them on that thing. We like those surface walkers, the surface bait, but you got to remember, son, you got to know how to work those baits. You can do it wrong. You can definitely do it wrong. We tell people you got to mix things up. If you're not getting any results on one pattern, one method, change it up to some other things. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll start out with a cast and do a straight retrieve back. Or if I'm walking the dog, I'm going to walk it all the way back in a steady rhythm, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. If I don't get anything, or if I start getting short strikes, what I'll do is walk, stop. Walk, stop. Sometimes I'll throw it out there and just let it sit there for a long time and then just do a couple of little twitches with it and stuff like that. But change it up till you find out what they want. But there's going to be some big trout caught this week, I guarantee you.
Yeah, it sounds
now,
it's that time.
Offshore, Ricky. Yeah, offshore. It's this is your favorite time of the year. Get the mahi. What have you heard about the offshore trip?
David, I take every windy day this time of year as a personal insult, and it just makes me furious. I don't want April and May to go by. I don't want to lose one single day to weather. Well, it's been kind of a big boat stretch here for the last couple of days, and I have never seen a year in my lifetime of fishing. I have never seen a year with so many blackfin tuna. The two Jody Lynn boats have been running every day, even in this rough weather, and they get to the ledge, and the first thing they do is catch their 2 blackfin tuna per person, which limits them on tuna. And Cap, let me tell you something. We're not talking about these little South Florida 16, 18-inch tuna. We're talking about, I had 4 tuna on my last trip, which was my intention. I have decided that on my boat, everybody that comes along is entitled to catch a big tuna. And then we go fish for something else. I'm not going to sit on those fish and pound them all day long. And we had 4 fish, and I know there wasn't one under 19, David. They were all 19 to 25, and those are some mean animals there. Now, I'm not kidding. They are bad to the bone. And the mahi fishing has been okay. 10 fish is a good day. 5 or 6 fish is probably about how the average has been. Now, that is got the potential to get better. We're not even quite to May yet, and that's got the potential to get better. Now, all the bottom boats that are fishing from 21 fathoms out are raving about all the grouper they're throwing back. They can't keep grouper till May 1st, and everybody's got their spot picked out that they want to be at on daylight on May 1st. So we may have our first decent grouper season in a while. The triggerfish are thick, but they're not very big. You got to measure quite a few of them to make sure they're legal, and the vermilions are everywhere. So all in all, fishing offshore is good. The cobia on the beach are not good.
That's what I've heard too.
Yeah.
We're not really seeing that many. How far out, Rick, do you have to go to get to your rip or your weed line now?
Well, it's tomorrow, from looking at the satellite, David, it should be directly on top of the continental shelf, which is just exactly where we want it. When that happens,
Right.
that's prime conditions. So if I have to pull back the throttles and beat myself out there tomorrow morning, because it's still going to have some northeast to it, if I have to pound my way out there tomorrow, I'm probably going to do it because I think the conditions are going to be ideal.
And you don't think the high pressure won't bother you at all?
No, I don't think it'll bother me a bit. David, I put a lot of credence on where a fish's eye is. All right, now let me explain that to you. If you look at a tuna, he's got a big eye very high on his head. Okay, he's almost constantly looking either out or up. And I think the sun bothers him. And I think he goes down when it's real bright and sunny. And I don't think he feeds as well. You look at a mahi, he's got a little eye all the way over on the side of his head. And I don't think the sky conditions or the pressure bothers him as much. I think he's a professional eating machine. A bait comes by him and he eats it.
Well, that's good. Well, we will have a full moon coming up. The moon is starting to fill up.
Like that.
We just had a new moon this past week. You know, I really had a really good week as far as that new moon. I've often said, you know, sometimes one moon will outproduce the other for me. And this past month, it has been the new moon for me as opposed to the full moon.
Gotcha. Well, David, that's a great report. We appreciate the heck out of it. When will you be back on the water again?
Well, I'm hoping it looks like this weekend I'll probably be out there. And as much as I hate to be out on the weekends right now, I have to take whatever comes my way right now. I mean, it's slim pickings right now for most of the charter captains up here. And, man, you just got to take what you can get right now.
David, I got news for you. We're under quarantine. Every day is a weekend. We'll see what happens. Yeah. Thank you, Cap. We sure appreciate it.
All right, tight lines, Ricky.
Thank you, David. Talk to you soon. Captain David Voorhees giving us a report from the northeast corner of the state. We're going to move on down into the east central and see if we can get a hold of Captain Jim Ross. Jim, how are you?
I am doing fantastic, Rick.
Good. Do me a favor. Does every 3 pictures I look at on Facebook have to be you? I mean, do I not have any cute girls on my Facebook page? What the heck? You know, every time I look, there's Captain Jim Ross.
If you're getting me that much on your feet, I feel sorry for you.
Life's hard. Tell me what's going on with your fishing, buddy.
We've got tuna again. You know, that east side of the stream is still doing really well. It's been a little bumpy here and there. We've had some weather move through, but the guys that are getting over there, the bigger boats, are still catching lots of yellowfin. Anywhere from 35, 40 pounds on the small side up into the 60 and 80 pound range on the larger side. And they're getting some dolphin and some wahoo over there as well. So, all in all, it's a pretty good bite if you can, you know, if you've got the capability to safely get over and back. And then the guys that are getting out there in like that 580 to 650 or 700 foot zone are finding tilefish and yellow edge grouper on deep drop rigs. That seems to be really good. They're hitting those on the, you know, with squid and putting multiple rigs down there. Doing really good on those as well. And there's been some big ones here in the last week or so. And then getting closer to shore, you know, we've still got a couple of tarpon and jacks and sharks running around the beaches, but that's slowed down just a little bit. But our snook bite has been absolutely fantastic. Ponce Inlet there at New Smyrna, and then, of course, Port Canaveral, and then all the way down at Sebastian. The guys and gals who are getting out and fishing those inlets are doing just astonishing numbers. I went out the other day. I haven't been running a whole lot of trips, trying to be conscious of the stay-at-home order, but I did get out a couple of times, and one of the times was a snook trip. And we went 7 for 12, and we only fished 3 hours.
Wow, that's pretty good. That's real good.
Only one of those fish was legal. Everything else is giant. You're catching 36 to 42-inch fish right now. So there's just a lot of really, really big fish stacking up in our inlets right now. And then, you know, back in the lagoon systems, the guys are still getting trout. They're still getting a few redfish here and there. The redfish is still just not real good. You know, we still need more grass. We need habitat to come back, and it's working on it. But at least our water's staying kind of clean. And you can still sight fish for the trout in the shallows. You can see them moving around, especially in the Mosquito Lagoon. Sometimes they're up there belly crawling. And then the black drum are still good at the Coral Islands and in the causeways. And just anywhere where there's some kind of hard structure that can hold crabs, that seems to be working best right now.
Are you happy with the snook regulations? Do you like them the way they are?
I find it really tough to catch a keeper fish, to be honest with you, because up to 27 inches, you don't get a lot of meat off of them. After 27 inches, they tend to thicken up and you get quite a bit of meat. But I don't know. it's just so hard for us to hit a fish 28 to 32 inch slot size here on the East Coast. It's tough to say. But golly, I mean, we had probably 15 or 16 bite, and of those we had 12 that we actually hooked and then landed 7. A couple broke off, a couple fell off, but of the 7, 1 fish was legal. So It's a good fishery. In fact, it's a great fishery. For only spending 3 hours messing around with it. It's tough to put those fish back in the water when you're trying to fill a bag limit.
Well, the added hazard, too, is that no matter what we do, every 2 or 3 years, here comes a freeze that's bad enough to kill half of them. So, I mean, it's really more complicated than like redfish. Redfish, they could swim in the sewer. They don't care. But snook are a lot
they can
more
not only
fragile.
swim in the sewer, but I haven't seen them, at that critical 50 degree or so mark. I haven't seen them start, getting lethargic and going belly up. I've seen redfish still maintaining their capabilities down into the upper 30-degree range. When we had that super cold freeze back in 2010 that killed the majority of the fish in the Mosquito Lagoon, died. All the trout died. All the snapper died. All the grouper died. It was surprising how many grouper we had in there. I was shocked to know how bad a grouper fisherman I am, because I never catch them, and there was a bunch of them dead floating around.
Yep.
And snook and tarpon and all those other things. But you didn't see black drum and you didn't see redfish.
Yep.
And those were the only 2 species that were able to survive. And that water temperature got down to 38.7 degrees at the recording station at Haulover Canal during that freeze.
Intercoastal waterway froze over in Palm Valley. I'll never forget it. Cap, we appreciate it so much, and thanks a lot. I'm hoping that your charter business comes roaring back soon. Sounds like we're trying to open life back up a little bit. I'm looking forward to it. We'll talk with you next week if that's okay.
I'm looking forward to it, Rick. And if anybody wants to get a hold of me, finelinefishingcharters.com. You can book a trip, and we would love to get you out and show you what it's all about here in the Central East region.
All right, we'll talk soon, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jimmy. That's an interesting point he makes. That snook slot only being 28 to 32 inches. Some days it's awfully hard to find a small enough one to keep. You know about that, don't you, Captain John Earhart?
Yes, sir.
Yep. John, of course, comes to us from Stuart, the southeast section, and they've got a lot of big snook in Stuart, Florida now.
Yeah, let's talk inshore. This week, it's just been absolutely phenomenal in Stuart, Florida. If you want to go snook fishing and you want to get lots of live bait, it's just unbelievable how much live bait is in our river right now. We got tons of pilchards and greenies flushing in and out of the inlet right now. So if you got a cast net or a sabiki, you can basically drive around the St. Lucie Inlet and fill your bait wheels with bait right now. And then after you do that, go hit any kind of structure, and you're going to catch plenty of snook right now. The other day, it took me 8 minutes to catch a keeper snook. And that was about 2 casts. And I probably had 300 baits in my live well. So, I mean, right now, if you want to go snook fishing, you want to catch keeper-sized snook, and you want to make it as easy as possible, it just doesn't get any better right now in Stuart, Florida. And if you don't have a sabiki or you don't have a cast net, there's about 4 or 5 bait guys hanging out at Sanford Park in the Manatee Pocket. Plenty of jacks around. There's been a few tarpon here and there, a little further upriver, and we've been catching an occasional redfish here and there, and a lot of big jack crevalles. We were catching jacks up to 20 pounds the other day, and we had to pick up and run to get away from them because the clients' arms were just too sore from catching so many jacks, and they wanted to focus more on the snook.
Cool. How about out in the ocean? What's going on out there?
Went offshore today. It was a little slow. We caught a lot of small dolphin, and that was anywhere from 100 to 150 feet. There's a little bit of a weed line out there. We pushed inshore. We caught some kingfish in about 75 feet. And then we did a couple drifts along the bottom and caught some mutt snappers and amberjacks. So it's pretty steady offshore right now. I would expect some good mahi fishing for the next week or two. Yesterday, a guy came into a Fish Head Tackle Shop and weighed a 54-pound bull dolphin mahi.
Ooh,
so, I mean, there are some big ones out there to be caught right now.
That is a monster.
That was one heck of a dolphin. I wouldn't mind seeing that one in my spread.
No, that's bigger than any I've ever caught, John. I've hit the 50-pound mark 3 times in my whole life, but none of them were as big as 54. Any word on the sailfish? Have they shown up at all?
We did actually raise a sailfish today. That was, I think, about 160, 165, but they've been kind of hit or miss. I've been seeing a lot of guys been catching singles and doubles. So there are some around. They're kind of spread out. I would imagine
May, June, July, that's when we're going to start seeing a lot of numbers of sailfish again. It seems like the big body of sailfish is down in the Keys right now. So maybe in a few weeks they might start migrating up our way, and we can start seeing, 5 to 10 fish days again.
Yeah, our next action spotter, Nick Stanczyk, had 18 the other day. That's quite a day's fishing. Now, are you fishing dead baits or are you slow trolling live baits?
Today we were trolling dead ballyhoo.
I see.
I did have a bunch of filters in the live well, but those filters are kind of small, so I decided to troll because it was about 4 to 6 foot seas, and it would have been kind of hard to slow troll the live bait. It would have been a good day to kite fish, but we just decided to try dead baiting for a bigger mahi.
Gotcha. Okay, well, that sounds like a great trip and a great report. John, we certainly appreciate it. I look forward to talking with you next week, if that's all right.
Yes, sir. I'll talk to y'all next week.
Good deal, Captain John Earhart from the Chaos and the Mayhem fishing boats in Stuart, Florida. You want to fish inshore, he'll take you on the Chaos. If you want to fish offshore, he'll take you on the Mayhem. Let's jump on down to the Keys and talk to Mr. Swordfish himself, Nick Stanczyk. Nick, how are you?
We're hanging in there. How you doing, Rick?
Doing okay, buddy. I'll be so glad when the people are pouring back down to Islamorada to fill your charter boats up. But the Bud and Mary area down there is charter boat central for the entire South Florida region. I hate seeing it shut down like it's been. But, Nick, it hadn't stopped the fishing, has it?
We've still been going. Every time I go on the boat with my family and friends, I've seen a fair number of people out there fishing. So people are still enjoying it, especially living in the Keys.
Yep, exactly right. Tell me what you're catching.
So yesterday I fished with my brother, Captain Rick Stanczyk, and he's got a Contender Bay boat, and he does a lot of tarpon fishing, and I have not caught a big tarpon since I can remember. It's been years, and we had some mullet in the morning, me, him, and our buddy Captain Charles, and went bridge fishing, caught a couple cudas and nurse sharks early. Wasn't looking good for our YouTube video, but then 3 bites in a row, we caught 2 big tarpon. He caught one about 100 pounds. I caught one maybe 60 or 70 pounds. So it was a good way to spend the day. And then the day before that, on Saturday, I went out with my friends to the reef. I don't do a lot of reef fishing, as you know, but it was some of the best yellowtail I've seen in a long time. Yeah, over 30 fish in a couple hours, and one of the biggest yellowtails I've ever caught, 26.5 inches.
Oh, that's
so
a big yellowtail. Holy smokes.
Yeah, 5.5 pounders. So that was a whopper. And half the fish we know were 2 pounds, which were great. The rest were just normal size, no pound and a quarter. We also had a few kingfish, 128-pound smoker. So that was a nice one. And then a couple of days before that, there was another epic bite of sailfish here in the Keys on Thursday last week. So a few days ago, we caught and released 33 sailfish.
No way. Really?
I've ever seen caught in a day myself, yep. But a couple boats did even better. One boat set the new Florida Keys record, Captain Sam Milazzo and Scott Martin, the bass guy, Roland Martin's son. They caught 76 sailfish, believe it or not. They were tailing and just huge numbers and sight casting with spinner rods, getting the leader and going for numbers. But, yeah, a lot of boats had 20 to 40 fish. And I think Captain Tim Maddock had like 64 and then Captain Sandman had 76, which is unheard of, just unreal.
Man, that's Dominican Republic numbers right there.
Yep, almost like they're in the Pacific somewhere as well. I fished one other day before that too. Last Wednesday, we caught half a dozen permit on the wreck. And I actually caught one on a popper. We didn't have any crabs in the morning. So I had a tuna popper, and I threw it out there, and about a 20-pound permit ate it, which was a first for me. So then in the afternoon, I went back out and we caught 5 more permit with crabs, which was much better. So couldn't complain about that. So we've had some great trips, just unfortunately haven't been able to showcase it and share it with all the people that usually are down here fishing this time of year.
Man, I tell you what, I'd love to be one of them, Nick. That's a fantastic report. You got any swordfish trips coming up?
I'm hoping to get out next week. It's been a little tough for sure. Captain Chase, who runs my old Freeman, he fished with some friends the last couple of days. They did get a nice one yesterday, 248-pounder, which was great.
Good one.
And they fished a long day the day before that, but didn't get any fish. So it has been a little hit and miss, I'll say, but there's been a few big ones around. So I had another friend in Big Pine Key catch one about 360. But he has fished a few days to get that fish. So a couple big ones coming through, but not stacked up in big numbers by any means.
I tell you what, if I right now, if I got all the way down there, I want to chase those 76 sailfish. What a day. Captain Nick, we appreciate it as always, and I look forward to talking with you a week from today, if that's okay.
Yep, give me a call. We'll talk to you then.
You got it. Captain Nick Stanczyk bringing us the Florida Sportsman Action Spotter report from Islamorada, where a new Florida Keys record has been set with 76 sailfish releases in a day. Holy smokes. You talk about success stories, and some of the fish that we've brought back because of measures that we've taken to protect them, sailfish being one of them, removing the long lines from them. How great is it to hear a story like that? 76 sailfish in a day. All right, let's pull around the corner of the state and check in the 10,000 islands. I don't know, I've checked about 8,000 of those islands, but I haven't found Steve Dahl yet. Steve, are you there?
I am. I'm on one of the 2,000 you haven't seen.
Because those people on the 8,000 said they never heard of you. I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, you might have talked to 2 people on those 8,000 islands.
Talked to lots of mosquitoes, though. Does that count?
Yeah, exactly.
Give me a fishing report. Tell me what's going on in 10,000 islands.
It's Tarpon. I mean, we're in the heart of it right now, and it's just a beautiful thing. I mean, we just got pods and pods of fish moving through the area. Right on the outside, and it's in the Gulf, 15, 20 feet of water, and they're moving. And the nice part is they're chewing. And we've had a few fronts here and there in the last week, and it's kind of, you can get on the front end of those fronts, it's definitely fire them up. And the typical bait we use is some blue crabs, which kind of coincides with permit season too. And crabs can be a little bit of a premium to find, and the nice part is we're finding fish are eating a plethora of different baits day to day. So you definitely got to bring the buffet to them. And what I mean is you got to spend some time, get some, threadfin herring, whether on a net or, a little bit offshore on, some of the markers out there, which are pretty well known, kind of strewn throughout the region. And you don't have to go far from shore to be able to see those. Or you can sabiki them up. Either way, you don't need a ton of bait, so that's the nice part. So if you're not well versed at throwing a net, you could certainly sabiki these up. But it's threadfin herrings, live mullet they're eating. Had them take some live ladyfish. So they're hungry and they're willing to eat just about anything. That's hard to talk about with tarpon, because tarpon can be really fickle from day to day. And don't get me wrong, one day they want the threadfin herring and the other day they want the crab, but it's a nice buffet. You're going to catch some fish. And it's real simple fishing. We're just going with the tide, kind of drift fishing when the wind allows us to do it, getting in front of the schools and kind of playing leapfrog with schools. And if you can get in front of them, you're almost intercepting them. It's good fish from 60 pounds all the way to 130, 140 pounds. It's on.
So. Steve, I'm an old man. You can keep every one of those triple-digit fish.
With you keep the 99-pounders, too, because I'm all about the 40, 50-pound fish. Let them jump twice, and if I have to reel it in, I'll win. If I'm in the triple digits now, a couple bottles of water afterwards, and I'm struggling.
Yeah, I promise you, man, oh man. I can remember August days of doing 15, 20 a day, and all that. That was a long time ago, Cap. I promise you that.
Oh, big time.
Yep. All
big
right.
Time.
Well, that's an outstanding report. Have you heard anything from the offshore? How the deep water guys are doing?
Yeah, I was actually out just with some fellow captains and another gentleman who are a couple of, one's our customer that we kind of mutually share, and then we have another gentleman that was in the mix. And we went out, probably about 72, 74 miles just due west of Naples, and we're a little bit west, we're in southwest, and we got on the African Pompano like no tomorrow.
Oh, that's cool.
It was really cool. Our spot was loaded from top to bottom. We got the yellowtail fired up top. We had AJs all over us. There was permit actually out there that we were able to sight fish because that water was so gin clear. Plenty of grouper. It's just finding some subtle wedges. This is probably a 2.5 to 3.5 foot wedge from everything that we could surmise, and it just holds fish. It's unbelievable. And it's one of the very few times I've caught permit on structure that doesn't have a very high relief, if you will, meaning it's not a very vertical structure off the bottom. So definitely did pretty well out there this past week. So that's been good. A little bit closer inshore or near shore in that 40 to 60 foot range. We're getting some big mangrove snappers. They're like little footballs. That's been dynamite. Real simple fishing, live shrimp, cut bait, frozen threadfin herring seems to be the ticket with the frozen stuff. And with the shrimp, you got to obviously have a little bit bigger size shrimp to be able to get those bigger ones, or you're just going to kind of get into grunts, which is certainly fun too. Yeah, it's doing pretty well. We had a little bit of wind this past week, and some weather, but as dry as it's been, it's kind of a welcome thing. And I would anticipate if we start getting into some of these afternoon showers, that country will start lighting up too. The snook fishing's actually been really good too, but the tarpon are just stealing the show. So if tarpon's not your thing, go snook fishing because you're going to catch them.
Boy, if we were going to pick our month, if we could only fish 1 month a year, the last half of April, first half of May sure would be way up there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I always tell people always ask that when they want to plan trips. Give me the best time of year to come down. I always say May and October. I think our tarpon can show up as early as Valentine's Day, which is pretty rare, but it's all relevant to water temperature and the bait. But I agree with you. It always seems when April 1st rolls around, you better buckle up because it just shines for the next 60 days until it gets really, really hot. So.
Couldn't agree with you more. I sure hope we get past this virus in time for everybody to come down there and take advantage of it.
I hope so too. We're still fishing, and people are getting out, abiding by social distancing, 50 feet apart, out on the water. It's working in our region, so
good deal. Seems to be working up here in Northeast Florida too. Thank you so much, Steve. We'll look forward to talking to you next week.
All right, be well.
Okay, buddy. Thanks. This report is brought to you each and every week by Yamaha. Reliability starts here by Tournament Master Chum, the best chum on earth, by Nosara Paradise Fishing, your dream vacation, and by Young Boats. You want the finest in flat spay and offshore hybrid boats? You want youngboats.com.
You know what Yamaha Outboards love? The genuine formula and consistency of Yamalube marine engine oils. Outboards are subjected to punishing conditions like high loads, salt, and humidity, a mix that automotive oils can't handle. Yamalube full synthetic and marine performance formulas are certified to protect against friction and corrosion for reliable performance every time. Find Yamalube marine oils at your nearest Yamaha Outboard dealer. Locate them at yamahaaoutboards.com/dealers. Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
Hey, Raj, being consistent is the mark of a quality product. If you've been Florida's #1 chum for over 10 years, there's got to be a reason.
For 10 years, Tournament Master Chum has lived up to his name. That's why more tournament pros insist on Tournament Master than any other chum. It's the only chum with menhaden milk mixed right in. That means it gets the scent out faster and deeper than any other brand of chum. It comes in a grind size for every species from kingfish to catching bait. Your fishing time is way too precious to you second-rate chum. Bring the action to you by insisting on Tournament Master Chum. It's worth every penny.
When you're ready for the finest in custom-made flat spay or inshore-offshore hybrids, you are ready to meet the Young family in Inglis, Florida. For over 21 years, the Young family has built custom boats one at a time for every type of fishing. Nothing can sneak up on a flat quite like the Gulf Shore flats boats, and I've never fished a better hybrid than the Young 24s and 27s. Rob Young is a naval architect who takes tremendous pride in each and every build for each and every customer that wants their boat custom built exactly the way they want it. Is it time for you to move up? Are you ready to own the finest boat built? Then you need to visit the Young Boat facility in Inglis, Florida, or check them out online at youngboats.com. Let's come on around to the Southwest area and check in with Snook Stamp Charters and Captain Greg Stamper. Snooky, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Rick. How are you doing?
Well, we're all doing the best we can right now, and I'm doing fine in that regard.
Yeah, I know. I can feel it, believe me. So we did get out this week. Went out with one of my best friends I've been fishing with over the past few weeks, and my wife a couple times, and we've had some pretty good winds down here. I can't lie. It's made things a little bit mucked up as far as our back bay water and the nearshore stuff. Didn't get a chance to get out front on any days that it wasn't really calm ever, but the tarpon I'm sure are still out there, but we're going to have to wait till it calms down before I'm going to go out there and look for them again. The good part about having these strong southwest-west winds is it really pushes water in. So we had some pretty good-sized tides this week. And for us, about when it gets above about 2.5 feet of water above the mean, that's a pretty good tide for us. And those southwest winds really push in more water. So you might gain 6 or 7 inches. So since it was mucked up in the bay, we went and did some exploring in some of the areas that typically, even in my boat that draws 9 inches, we can only get in for an hour and we have to get out. Otherwise, we could be staying there for 6 hours. So we had a lot of higher water. So we had opportunities to get back at some of these little back bays and creek areas that normally you wouldn't be able to play very long in. We had several hours in these areas. The cool part is they were shielded from the wind. The water was somewhat clean in there, and we could sight fish redfish and baby tarpon and snook for an hour and a half straight. It was just fantastic. And we did this in one or two spots over the course of 2 or 3 days. We just picked to go about an hour and a half before the high tide so we could just float into these areas, get over the oyster bars and whatnot that are in the way. And when we got back in these areas, Rick, it was in fuego. I didn't have any trips to run, but man, I wish I would have had a fly guy this week because it was just legit. It was awesome. Unfortunately, nobody's really going to be doing much work yet. We're getting there. There's a light at the end of the tunnel where they're starting to open a few things up here and there, but nothing crazy. One other note is I went bass fishing this week with my wife. The bass bite is absolutely in fuego right now. We're going to have this type of situation if you're a freshwater dude or gal. Before all the rains really start up, these fish are just pinned into these canals. The Everglades are as dry as they can be, so everything's in one spot. It's like fishing in a fish tank.
Well, how about that? I tell you, and I don't know what the reason is for it, but almost everybody I talk to is telling me the same thing about black bass in the freshwater. There's just been a phenomenal spring so far.
Yeah, and these are nothing crazy. None of the bass we caught were more than, we caught 1 or 2 that were close to 4 pounds. A lot of these fish are anywhere from 1 to 3, and those are fun. And we caught a lot on spinning rod, and then we broke out the fly rods and tried to mess with them that way for a bit. And I didn't catch any on a fly rod, but it was fun to do.
Oh, yeah. It's fantastic. Yeah, how many times when you're running trip after trip after trip have we all said, God, if I could just get a few days off without a charter and I could take my wife and my kids and all that. And all of a sudden here it comes and we're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
We got time.
What's crazy, though, is the days that we did go out, I didn't think it would be very good just because of how muddy the water was. So we decided to go back into some of these little creeks and bays that you normally can't get into. And so the wind worked out. And when we got in there, Rick, it was like, hey, there's a redfish. Hey, look at that tarpon laid up. Hey, look at that. That's a big, there's 3 snook there. Yeah, throw that in there. I mean, it was just dumb. But we're going to have some good tides this week in the evening. We got a lot of outgoing water that's going to be starting around 5 or 6 o'clock at night, moving 1 hour forward each day. And it'll be interesting to see if the tarpon move in because we did get a little bit of rain yesterday, and that might get our crabs and stuff rolling out of those passes. And if that happens, those fish that are near shore, they're going to come into all of our passes around our bridges and whatnot and start picking off crabs. So we may go out 1 or 2 times this week just to see if those tarpons show up. And, they could be anywhere from 50 pounds up to 150 pounds.
Yeah, just like I told Steve Dahl a little while ago, you keep all those triple-digit fish. That's fine with me. I got no quarrel with them.
I completely agree. You know what I do, Rick, now? On a big fish like that, I let them jump 1 or 2 times and I grab my bail.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah, I don't blame you a bit. Captain Greg, it sounds like fishing is fantastic down there. Lord, please let it hold up long enough for the people to come back down to take advantage of it because, gosh, this is the time of year we love to fish so much. And, of course, everybody wants to be safe and everybody wants to be healthy. I sure do want to get back out on the water.
I agree. I'm right there with you. I'll talk to you next week, tight lines, and go from there.
I look forward to it. Thank you, Greg. Now, let's move up I-75 a little bit, where we'll hunt down our buddy Ray Markham. Ray, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
How we doing, Cap?
We're doing pretty good. We've had some decent weather, but those days are like today, and pretty much the rest of the last week we've had a lot of breezy weather, a lot of wind, and a couple of really serious thunderstorms and kind of squally weather coming in off the Gulf with west and northwest winds that have really riled up the seas and also churned up the water inshore. A few of the guys that have been getting out to try and do some tarpon fishing around that new moon last week were a little disappointed because the fish just weren't showing very well once that wind started shifting to the west. And I think what happened, the same thing happens with kingfish, is they just kind of pointed their noses west and took off for deeper water. But I do think once this weather just relaxes a little bit, I think those fish are going to be back in there, going to be chewing.
Yeah, so, I haven't looked at your weather forecast, but ours for this weekend looks exceptional.
I haven't looked at it either, to tell you the truth. And I had the only trips that I had booked last week, they all got canceled because of the weather. And I'm hoping maybe I can get at least one of of them out this week. I can't imagine a lot of people still working, but some are still working at least part-time or whatever. So we're getting them out there when we can. That's about what's been going on. And when we have had a chance to get out there, the trout action's been really good. A big improvement over the last few weeks. Redfish have been finicky to some degree. There have been times we get out, we'll see a bunch of fish. They'll be piled up, but they just don't want to eat. But I'll tell you what has been chewing, though, the snook action has been phenomenal. I'm seeing reports all over the place. Fish are starting to show up right around the beaches and the passes. And I would imagine maybe some of these fish might have spawned early on that new moon last week. But the majority of these fish are typically going to start probably with full moon that's coming up in the next week or so. So, that's kind of what I'm looking at. Some guys have been telling me they've been catching some flounder. We caught a few of them over the last week or so. But I'm seeing more reports that are scattered. So it's not just one area. I really do think that the guys that were catching them a month ago on the artificial reefs just offshore, I think a lot of those fish have started to move in. And all the fish I've cleaned have had roe in them. So I don't know if they're coming in here to spawn or just coming in because they like it. But they seem to be eating when they're coming in. So that's all good.
As long as they keep coming, we don't really care about their motives, do we?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Hey, I tell you what, Cap, that sounds like an outstanding report. For the most part, the ocean's been closed all around everywhere except maybe down in the Keys. When it gets open, and we've had some of the bigger boats that have been toughing it out and running every day and doing phenomenally well on blackfin tuna. I've never seen such a year for blackfin tuna. But
it's funny you say that, but because over here in the Gulf too, I've talked to a lot of guys that when they were able to get offshore, they were catching blackfin tuna in as shallow as 60 feet of water.
Yep, same thing here.
That's not normal here at all. Normally, the guys getting out beyond 100 and 120 feet of water are catching the majority of them. And back when we used to have shrimp boats that would run 30 to 40 miles offshore, the guys that would go out and hang out around the shrimp boats when they'd be calling their catches, those guys would just absolutely blast them. But shrimp boats really haven't been running out there. So they're just trying to hit springs and lots of relief and things that they're finding offshore and still catching them.
Yeah, I've never seen them like they are here. I'm very, very thankful for them. I don't think, certainly I'm sure that the 2 fish per person limit has not had enough effect yet for us to see this kind of rebound. It's probably just an environmental thing where this happened to be a big boom year for them. But Ray, may I take a moment to teach you a lesson?
Okay.
Okay. You've had guys tell you before about the one that got away, right? This fish was so big and, we couldn't get him. And
yeah.
All right. We've all got those stories.
I wish you would change that story too. Getting tired of hearing the same old story you keep telling me.
All right. Well, here comes one. Last week, I'm sitting up in my little tuna tower and my shotgun rod goes off, and it goes off hard. And before I can even get it downstairs to the guys there, we're into the backing. We're into the hollow core braid. And this fish is hauling, but he is going so fast. And we're chasing him, and he is going, and we're chasing him, and the half-hour mark passes, and we're still chasing him, and we finally get on top of him. And I'm thinking, I've never caught a 90-pound wahoo. This could be him. This could be him. All right, guys, let's take it easy. Take it easy now. Not too much pressure. Nobody get in too big a hurry now. Here's our big chance. Here's our opportunity. Okay, you know what it might be, Ray? It might be a 23-pound blackfin hooked right in the fork of the tail. That's what it might be.
You couldn't feel a little vibration from that tail wiggling a little bit?
Absolutely could not, because it was hooked. It was hooked just far enough up to where it wasn't affecting that. And almost always, that's how I can tell. The minute that rod tip starts going boink, 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 I know it's a tuna. There was none of that.
There's been times that I've hooked what I thought was maybe, one of those 40-inch redfish, and they just take off like a freight train. And then after they run about 30 or 40 yards, you start feeling a pump, 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 pump.
How yellow was that fish?
Yeah, they usually have whiskers on them when they get in.
I thought you were talking about Jack Crevalle, because Jack Crevalle will do that same.
Well, Jack will do the exact same thing, but for me, a Jack Crevalle, I know it's coming when all of a sudden I start seeing them circle the wagons. They start running around the boat a couple times, and it's a Jack.
They're great fish, though. They don't get the respect they deserve. I think it's so funny that over here, all of our guides are adamant about not keeping a trout over 5 pounds, which I think is wonderful. Okay. And they'll get a strike from a big fish, and the fish is screaming off, oh, that could be him. That could be him. Oh no, it's just a Jack. Well, I got news for you. A 5-pound Jack will pull a trout around until he drowns him.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, though. The 15-pound trout that I caught, I seriously thought it was a snook when I hooked the fish. We'll go into that story on another day when we got a lot more time and you're maybe sipping on a cocktail or something.
Ray, I can't wait. I can't wait to hear that, because if you caught a 15-pound trout, which I know you did, because you just told me you did, You're the first person I've ever met that actually caught one, and I think that's fantastic.
Well, I know for a fact it was actually a bigger trout than when I hooked it, because when I got that fish to the boat, hooked up the boga grip to it, which was a 15-pound boga grip. It buried the boga grip, and after it barfed up that foot-long needlefish and spewed out about a cup of roe, it was 15 pounds. At least that's what the boga grip said, but that was already on the bottom. It could have been over in that, and I really don't know.
Wow.
So,
well, hats off to you for letting that one go. That'd be a tough one to say goodbye to you. I'm proud to know you, Ray Markham.
Thank you, buddy.
We'll talk next week if that's okay.
All right. We'll catch you later then.
Thank you, Ray. Now let's head on out to Gulf Breeze. God, I love Gulf Breeze. It's one of my favorite places in Florida. And check in with Captain Tyler Massey. Tyler, are you with us?
I'm here, Rick.
Good deal, buddy. What's going on in Gulf Breeze?
We've had a good week of fishing. We had some good weather, some nice days. Last week we talked about some cobia fishing, and that continued. Probably the best week we've seen, all year was this past week. Some nice fish and decent numbers of fish being caught up and down the beach. So that's what a lot of people were focusing on, especially the people who have, towers to sight fish and that kind of stuff. So pretty good for that this past week.
Tyler, does it seem to you like maybe this is going to be a better cobia season for you guys? Because I know you've really struggled the last few years.
Yeah, it's already been a little better than normal. And, I don't sight fish them as much as I used to. We pick them off the wrecks and the reefs and stuff when we're bottom fishing. So, with the numbers we've seen so far this spring, I imagine we're going to do pretty well with them here in the next couple of months, fishing on the wrecks and the reefs as well. So that's where I get most of mine for my charter customers is, when they come up to the boat whenever you're bottom fishing.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like when I used to cobia fish a lot, and I don't get as much time to do it as I like to. What I would do would be to punch in like 10 wrecks, and each wreck I'd go to with a double handful of live pogies and dump them over and just wait for one to pop up. That was more effective for me than chasing them up and down the beach.
Yeah, definitely. And, in the past few years, we've been mostly just trying to catch them on wrecks too. Like the fish just haven't been to the beach or been riding on the beach. They didn't want to be up there. They changed what they wanted to do for a while, I guess. So, like you said, like just go to the wrecks and start catching your snappers and your amberjacks and that kind of throwing some baits out. They'll follow a hook fish right to the boat a lot of times. They like action, like activity. They like to see what's going on. So, a lot of times they'll just come right to you.
Yep. Glad to see them. Anything going on inshore up there?
Yeah, inshore we've got a good Spanish mackerel. Good numbers of those are running down our beaches. So that's good for a lot of people. Kids love them. They're fun to catch, and they're pretty good eating as well too. So, trolling shiny jigs or spoons down the beach or casting at us, you see them blowing up. That's been pretty good for the last few days here. And also caught a few flounder yesterday. First flounder I've really caught this spring. So that'd be another thing that our guys can start looking for and targeting up this way is the flounder.
Oh, that's outstanding. Yeah. Is this generally a good time of year for you for flounder?
Yeah, it's mostly Gulf flounder, not our bay flounder. So fishing near our path, the Gulf flounders, I guess they're coming back in after they've been in the Gulf spawning. They kind of start to pile up right there in our path, and it can be pretty good for them. Yeah, so we start catching them usually like in the beginning of May, and catch them all the way through the summer. So That's mostly Gulf flounder. They're not the southern flounder.
Gotcha. Okay, that's outstanding. And I'm assuming that nobody's been way out, like for the tuna and such, right? Have they been?
I haven't had any direct reports, but this weekend we have 1 foot or less seas, so I imagine there'll be some guys going for tunas, wahoos, maybe even some swordfish and that kind of stuff too. So I'm sure I'll have a report of that next week.
I got news for you. I know one boat that'll be on them this weekend. I promise you that. Captain Tyler, we appreciate it so much. Thank you, buddy.
All right, we'll talk to you next week.
It has been an outstanding trip around the state tonight. A bit shortened. William Toney had the audacity to stiff us just because his wife's in labor. What silliness. You know what? You get the feeling this week that life is somewhat returning to normal. We started off talking with Craig Sutton from Nosara. He said people are starting to come in after the 15th. They'll be rolling back into May. Captain David Voorhees talked about how the big trout are showing up on time and people are able to fish for them. Some of the charter boat captains are getting a few local charters to go hunt big trout. Same thing with Jim Ross. The Mosquito Lagoon has been pretty good. Now, a lot of his cobia are stretched out now from the Cape all the way up to Jacksonville. There was a couple of decent reports out of Jacksonville. John Earhart said the mahi are biting pretty doggone well down in Stuart, Florida. There's also still cobia showing up down there. I'm hoping that our conservation efforts on behalf of cobia are starting to pay off, and we're going to see bigger numbers. Nick Stanczyk, what a report. Gosh, I love talking to that kid. 76 sailfish in a day. That's hard to imagine, but that's apparently the New Keys record. That happens under very specialized conditions down there. The guys can sight fish them, and they make up great days. Steve Dahl and Greg Stamper were all about the tarpon. Said the tarpon are rolling all over down there, and there's a lot of snook, although the water has been kind of dirty from these excessive winds that we've had. Ray Markham reported good fishing, but dirty water. It seems like everything is pushed offshore for him. Certainly his kingfish have moved on out there. And Tyler Massey, who said, strangely enough to me, it doesn't seem like it, but for them, it's a time for them to be catching flounder in the panhandle, and they are doing it, and they seem to be off to a much better cobia start this year than what we've seen. So maybe things are getting better. Maybe life is getting back to normal. My goodness, I sure hope so. Hey, listen, we hope you enjoyed tonight's podcast. If you did, please go to wherever you get your podcast from and subscribe to us. We'd really appreciate it. And give us your remarks. We'd like to hear how we can improve our podcast each and every week. Do you want a weather factor brought into it? Do you want a forecast for the upcoming weekend? How can we make our podcast better? That's what we want to know. Our podcasts are brought to you each and every week by a Yamaha. Reliability starts here. By Tournament Master Chum, the best chum on earth. By Nosara Paradise Fishing, your dream vacation. And by Young Boats. You want the finest in flats, bay, and offshore hybrid boats, you need to check out youngboats.com. Hey, I'm Captain Rick Riles, and we're going to be back next week with another Florida Sportsman Action Spotter podcast. Until then, tight lines, and I'll see you on the rip.